What the yin yang? Have you heard of the yin and the yang? No, I'm not talking about the yin yang twins. I'm talking about yin and yang. And yes, I'm mispronouncing it, but this is how most people pronounce it. Yin and the yang. It's actually pronounced yin and yang, right? So I'm going to interchange yin yang so that maybe most of you can understand it, what I'm talking about. And then I'll use the correct pronunciation, yin and yang. So what is that? If you've gone to an acupuncturist, a Chinese medicine practitioner, most likely they've talked to you about that. They're like, oh, this is the yin, kidney yin, kidney yin, right? They say, oh, your liver yang is rising, your kidney yin is deficient. That's why you're having these hot flashes. What is all that mumbo jumbo, right? What does that actually mean in layman's terms? I thought I'd break it down in three different ways. I'm going to give you three definitions, and hopefully it will make more sense that the yin and the yang is not a bunch of nonsense. It's actually something that God created, and it's manifested in nature and also science. It exists everywhere. We just don't call it the yin and the yang, right? Let's jump into my dashboard. One thing we like to do on our team when we're communicating with our patients is use layman's terms, right? Because we actually want our patients to understand what we're doing, how it's helping them, and what can they do to maintain it by themselves. And so we try to stay away from TCM terminology, and we also try to stay away from complex Western scientific terminology, right? Because both terminology is almost like another language, right? Chinese medicine language, Western medicine language is like a whole new language, right? And so if people are interested, obviously they can go and research that. But when patients come to our clinic, they just want results. And they want to know how we're getting the results and what can they do to duplicate it and maintain it by themselves. So came up with this nifty dashboard. If you want access to this dashboard, just comment below the word dashboard, and my team will give you access to this. And so I came up with three definitions of yin and the yang, yin versus yang, or yin versus yang. In Chinese medicine, TCM, they are complementary opposites inside one whole. Yin holds, cools, nourishes, and stores. That's the yin part, okay? The yang part is the one that moves, warms, activates, and transforms. And you can see it right here. Yin is substance, structure, cold, dark, winter, right? The yang is summer, heat, light, exterior. Yin is interior. Yin is rest. Yang is movement, right? So they're complete opposites. And the symbol came from Taoism. But is this yin and yang really about Taoism? In my opinion, it's not. Many acupuncturists will disagree with me, and it's okay. Everybody has their own definition. Nobody knows what is 100% accurate for them. All right. So what's accurate for me may not be accurate for another acupuncturist. It's okay, right? We can all have our own interpretations. Nobody's right and nobody's wrong. So I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm just going to go through the main parts of what is the yin and the yang. So in Chinese medicine, right, we say yin gives the body substance, yang gives physiological action. Yin is the substance, yang is execution of the action. And they depend on each other. They consume each other and can transform into each other. And so does this look similar to something in just Western medicine terms? Something like homeostasis, equilibrium? That's the same thing. If I were to boil down the definition of yin and yang, it would be equilibrium. That's what our bodies try to maintain, equilibrium. That's why you will hear in Chinese medicine, in TCM, we always talk about balance. Balance of what? What are we balancing, right? Well, we're balancing the yin and the yang. What is that? We're balancing the substance and the function. Everything in our body is balanced. If it's not balanced, we would fall apart. We would not be able to function. We would not have a body if our bodies were not in balance. So it's a dynamic balance. Health is not a static equality. It doesn't stay balanced 100% of the time. It fluctuates, right? That's why it's a functional balance in motion. Now, think about this. They discovered this balance. They just use the words yin and yang, but they discovered equilibrium and homeostasis 3,000 years ago. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty impressed by those people back then. They knew this concept. They may not know the words that we use today, just the different words, but they understood the concept that our bodies, and this was before they did surgery. They knew that our bodies needed to be in balance. And whenever you have disease, right, that's when your body is out of balance because they knew God built our bodies. When we came out, most people, 99% of the people, bodies were functioning perfectly. In general, most babies, 99% of babies are born perfectly and they are in balance. Now, this balance, when they say it's not a static balance, it's like your blood sugar. Your blood sugar may be in perfect balance today, but if you eat donuts for a week, your blood sugar is no longer going to be in balance. It's going to be an imbalance, right? So we have to do things to keep our bodies in balance. The body itself is programmed to try to get back to this balance or equilibrium or homeostasis. That's its job. It's already pre-programmed. You don't even need to think about it. It will naturally do that without you thinking about it. What we need to do is to help it and not get in its way. We need to stop doing things that block that balance. But that's for another story. I'm talking about the yin and the yang. Let's go through how does science define the yin and the yang, right? So if we look at the yin in the autonomic nervous system, the yin is the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest. The yang is the sympathetic nervous system, right? It's the fight or flight. So you see, there's a balance. You need rest and digest, and you also need fight or flight. Because if a dog's chasing you and about to bite you in the butt, you need to run. You don't need to be resting and digesting, right? This is salivation, bowels. That's why if your body is constant in fight or flight mode, I call it the invisible dog syndrome. Very few people these days are being chased by a dog, but their bodies are reacting like they're being chased by a dog every single day. Now, this is self-induced, a little accountability here. Because of the lifestyle that you chose, you put yourself in a fight or flight situation. When you do that, you have an invisible dog trying to bite you. Guess what? Your body, your yang, is always going to be activated. So if your yang is always activated, you're never going to be digesting. You're going to have poor digestion, poor bowels, poor rest, poor healing. Let's go to metabolic. The yin is tissue repair, reserve building. Yang is energy release, heat production. In systems, the yin is structure. What holds our structure? Storage. Yang, again, function, output. Brain state. The yin is slow wave. That's when we sleep. We need that deep sleep, restoration, mental quiet. The yang is focus, stimulated, sensory engagement. The immune response is resolution, rebuild, and recovery. Yang is acute inflammatory response. This is another one. Many people, like autoimmune disorder, you are in a yang state all the time. Your body is constantly inflaming itself. You need more balance. You need more yin or yin, which is rebuilding and recovery. Next, bone remodeling. We have two types of cells in our bones. One is called osteoblasts. What does it do? It builds stronger bones. The opposite, the yang, is osteoclasts. What do? They break down your bones. So we have cells in our bones right now, one building our bones, one destroying our bones. Don't you think there needs to be a balance there? When people have too much of the osteoclasts or their osteoblast is not working and their osteoclast keeps on breaking down bone, guess what disease you get? Osteoporosis. See? Yin, yang. Hopefully that makes sense. Same with our neurotransmitters, right? GABA, they dampen neuronal firing. Glutamate, they're excitatory. They stimulate neuronal firing. Cardiac, vagal tone, slowing your heart rate or sympathetic drive. Endocrine, anabolic hormones, storage hormones, tissue building like insulin, growth hormones, or catabolic, glucagon, adrenaline, cortisol effects, right? You cannot say yin is better or yang is better. You need both because in this situation, when you have too much insulin secreting in your body, it causes insulin resistance. That's why you need more yang, right? You need to stimulate glucagon, adrenaline, cortisol. In nature, we see day and night are simplest, the natural teaching model. Winter stores and contracts. Summer expands and expresses, right? Root is yin reserve. Flowering is yang expression. So like plant life down here, the yin is seed, root, hidden potential. The seed is in the ground. That's yin, that's hidden. What is the yang form of plant life? Sprouting, leaf, visible growth, right? Metabolism, storage is a yin, store things. You get fat. Your body is doing too much yin, it's too much storing, right? Yang, you need to release it. You need to consume that storage. If you want to lose weight, you need more yang and less yin. Nervous system, you need rest and digest and mobilizing. Because if you're just resting and digesting the whole time, you're not mobilizing, your resources keep building up. What does that mean? Resources keep building up. Have you ever been to someone who is a hoarder? Do you know what a hoarder is? A hoarder is they just keep on bringing things into their home and don't throw it away. And pretty soon their whole house is full of stuff. You can't even walk through it, right? That's a hoarder. That's what happens when you're too much yin. So again, it is not about yin is better than yang or yang is better than yin. It's all about balance. You need balance, you need equilibrium. You can't have more yin than yang. You need a balance. And that balance is fluctuating every single day. But the key is you want the fluctuation to be minimal, just like your blood pressure. If your blood pressure fluctuates minimal, then your body is in balance. But when your blood pressure fluctuates too much, that's a recipe for a stroke. You see, big fluctuation, you're out of balance, you got health problems, right? So the key, what's up with the yin and the yang? It's about balance, equilibrium, and homeostasis.